My stepmother kicked me out of my own house to make room for her spoiled daughter and leech of a husband. Hey Reddit, so I'm Noah, 27, and I'm pretty sure I'm living every middle child's worst nightmare. My dad, the only person who ever treated me like I mattered, died a few years ago, and things went downhill fast. My stepmom, Carol, basically became queen bee, favoring her daughter, Tiffany, over me every single time. I always felt like the invisible one, but now I'm officially the family ATM, apparently. I've been paying most of the bills for the house we all live in, thinking I was helping out. Turns out, I was just setting myself up for the biggest betrayal of my life. So yeah, I'm about to tell you how I went from homeowner to homeless thanks to my loving family. Should I even bother with the details? You guys really want to hear this. Okay, buckle up. So it was a Tuesday night. I get home from work, exhausted as usual, and find Tiffany, her useless husband Brad, and Carol all sitting in the living room, looking way too pleased with themselves. Tiffany's got this smug grin plastered on her face, and I just knew something was up. My stomach started churning. Carol clears her throat, all fake sweetness, and says, "Noah, honey, we need to talk." My heart sank. Those words are never good, then she drops the bomb. Tiffany and Brad are expecting, she gushes, like this is the best news ever. I'm standing there, dumbfounded, trying to process. A baby, okay, whatever. But then Carol continues, and they're going to need their own space, so we've decided you should move out. Move out? My jaw hit the floor. Move out, I repeated like an idiot. Where am I supposed to go? And that's when Tiffany chimes in with her signature condescending tone. Oh, I'm sure you'll figure something out. You're so resourceful, aren't you? Brad just smirks, the lazy bum. Resourceful? I'm paying the mortgage on this house. I wanted to scream. I felt this wave of nausea wash over me. I literally stumbled back a step, like I'd been physically punched. I tried to reason with Carol, showing her the bank statements, the bills, everything I'd been paying for. I'm keeping this roof over our heads, I practically yelled. She just waved her hand dismissively like I was some annoying fly and went back to scrolling through Facebook. Facebook, while I'm standing there, my entire world imploding. Family helps family, Noah, she mumbled, not even looking at me. Family helps family. Are you kidding me? That's when the rage started to build. It felt like my chest was going to explode. They were kicking me out after everything I'd done to make room for her precious daughter and that guy. I felt so betrayed, so used. It was like they didn't even see me as a person, just a walking wallet. I couldn't even speak. I just turned and walked out, my head spinning. I didn't know where to go, what to do. I was completely numb. That night I slept in my car. In my car. And that Reddit is how my family threw me away like yesterday's trash. I went back the next day, still reeling, trying to make them see sense. I thought maybe they'd slept on it, realized how insane this all was. Nope. I walked in, and Carol was in the kitchen, making breakfast for Tiffany and Brad. The smell of bacon made my stomach growl. I hadn't eaten anything since yesterday's stale sandwich. I cleared my throat. Carol, we need to talk again. She didn't even turn around. About what, Noah? Your dramatic exit last night? Dramatic? I was being evicted from my own home. I'm serious, I said, trying to keep my voice level. I need a place to stay. This isn't fair. Tiffany strolled in, looking like she just stepped out of a spa, not a care in the world. Oh Noah, she sighed, all fake sympathy. You're being so difficult, just find an apartment, it's not rocket science. Not rocket science, I snapped. I'm paying all the bills here. Where do you think I'm going to magically find the money for first, last, and a security deposit, on top of still covering this place? Brad lumbered in, scratching his gut. Look, man, he said, with a condescending pat on my shoulder that made my skin crawl, just get a roommate or something. He grabbed a plate piled high with bacon and sauntered off. A roommate, this guy. I turned back to Carol, pleading. Carol, please, just give me some time to figure this out. A week, even. She finally turned around, a look of pure annoyance on her face. Noah, you're being childish, you're a grown man. Deal with it? She turned back to the stove, dismissing me completely. Childish, childish. I felt this cold dread creep up my spine. This wasn't normal. This wasn't how families were supposed to treat each other. This was toxic. I just stood there for a minute, the blood rushing in my ears. Then I said very quietly, fine. I turned and walked out, my hands shaking. I felt this hollow ache in my chest. They just didn't care, at all. I slept in my car again that night. It was freezing, I cried. I felt so alone, and that's when I knew. This wasn't a family disagreement, this was war. It's been a week since I became a resident of my Honda Civic and things have gone from bad to worse. I'm running on fumes, instant coffee, and sheer desperation. Showers are a distant memory. I stink. I feel like I stink. I probably do stink. My family has decided to take their cruelty to a whole new level. Yesterday, I got a call from my Aunt Susan, my dad's sister. I haven't spoken to her in ages, and I was actually kind of happy to hear from her at first. Then she started in. Noah, honey, she began, her voice dripping with concern. Carol told me you're going through a bit of a phase. Rebellious, is it? Phase? Rebellious? I wanted to scream. Aunt Susan, they kicked Emmy out, I explained, trying to keep the frustration out of my voice. I'm living in my car. Oh, now, Noah, she said, clearly not believing me. Carol said you chose to leave, said you wanted to find yourself. She actually used air quotes. Air quotes, I was speechless. That's a lie, I finally managed to choke out. They're lying. Well, honey, she continued, in that patronizing tone that makes my teeth grind, families have their disagreements. You should just apologize to your stepmother, she's very worried about you. Worried? She's worried. They're systematically destroying my life and she's worried. I hung up. I just hung up, I couldn't even deal with it. This is insane. They're rewriting history. They're making me out to be the bad guy. Then this morning, I get a text from Tiffany. Hey loser, it read. Mom says you haven't been returning her calls, just pay the mortgage and come home. We can all forget this ever happened. Forget this ever happened. Like I can just magically forget being thrown out on the street. I'm starting to lose it, Reddit. I'm seriously losing it. I can barely focus at work. I'm constantly on edge, jumping at every little noise. I feel like I'm being watched, judged. I'm hiding this from my colleagues, but how long can I keep this up? I'm a mess. I need to do something. I can't keep living like this. This isn't just about a house anymore. This is about my sanity. This is about my life. They're trying to break me, but I'm not going to let them. I'm not. I have to fight back. So work has been a blur. I'm barely functioning. I can't concentrate. I keep zoning out, and I look like I haven't slept in days, which, well, I haven't. Maria, this older lady in IT, she's been super helpful with some tricky code lately, noticed me kind of nodding off at my desk. She's sharp. Like she sees right through people. She came over, put a hand on my arm and said, Noah, honey, you look like you're about to fall over. What's going on? I just kind of shrugged. Stress, I mumbled, avoiding eye contact. I didn't want to get into it. It all just felt too shameful. But Maria, she didn't let it go. She sat down next to me and said, stress doesn't usually make people look like they're living on the street. My eyes widened. How did she know? I felt my face flush. Look, kid, she said, her voice softening. I've been around the block a few times. Something's not right, talk to me. And I just broke. I spilled everything. The eviction, the car, the lies, the betrayal, the whole ugly mess. I even told her about Aunt Susan and the rebellious phase comment. I felt like a complete idiot, blubbering like this at work, but I couldn't stop. When I finished, Maria just sat there for a minute, completely silent. Then she said very quietly, Noah, that's horrific. The look on her face, it was like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. And that more than anything made it real. Someone finally saw it, saw me. They're trying to erase me, I whispered, the words barely audible. Maria shook her head. No, honey, she said firmly. They are the ones who should be ashamed. What they're doing to you is abuse, plain and simple. Abuse. That word, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'd never thought of it that way. I'd been so focused on my own failings, my own inability to fix things, that I hadn't seen it for what it was. They're manipulating you, she continued. They're taking advantage of your kindness, your sense of responsibility. They're making you feel like you're the problem, when they're the ones who are completely out of line. Then she said something that completely changed my perspective. Family isn't just blood, Noah. It's the people who love you, who support you, who treat you with respect. These people, they're not acting like family, they're acting like parasites. Parasites, that's exactly what they were, sucking the life out of me, and I'd been letting them. You need to document everything, Maria said, her voice taking on a practical tone. Every conversation, every text, every email. You need to protect yourself. She even gave me the name of a lawyer she knew, someone who specialized in family disputes. I just sat there, stunned. For the first time since this whole nightmare began, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe I wasn't crazy. Maybe I wasn't the bad guy. Maybe I could fight back. Okay, Reddit, so remember how I said things were bad? They got worse. Much worse. I was at work trying to focus, pretending everything was normal, which it so wasn't. I was debugging this piece of code, head down, headphones on, trying to block out the world. Suddenly, I hear this commotion, people whispering, someone saying my name. I look up, and there they are, Carol and Tiffany, standing right there in my office. My office. My face went white. I felt like I was going to throw up. Carol starts wailing loudly about how I'm not paying the mortgage, how they're going to lose the house, how I'm ruining their lives. Tiffany's standing there, arms crossed, smirking like this is some kind of reality show she's starring in. She actually rolled her eyes at me. Rolled her eyes, in front of my entire team. My boss comes over, looking concerned, asking what's going on. I can feel everyone staring at me, judging me. I wanted to disappear. I wanted the floor to swallow me whole. I stammered something about a family misunderstanding, but Carol just kept going, louder and louder, about how I'm homeless by choice, how I'm being dramatic, how I'm abandoning my family. Homeless by choice, dramatic. I felt this red-hot rage surge through me. Tiffany then pipes up, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Oh, and he's pretending to be homeless. Living in his car, can you believe it? So pathetic." She actually laughed. Laughed. At that moment, something inside me snapped. It was like a switch flipped. The shame, the guilt, the self-doubt, it all just vanished, replaced by this cold, hard fury. My hands started shaking, but not from fear, from anger, pure, unadulterated anger. I stood up, my voice trembling, and said very quietly, "Get out." Carol stopped mid-sentence, her mouth hanging open. Tiffany's smirk faltered. "Excuse me," Carol sputtered. "Get out," I repeated, my voice stronger this time. "You have no right to be here. You have no right to do this to me. You have no right to lie about me." I looked at Tiffany, my eyes burning. "And you," I said, pointing at her, "you are a spoiled, entitled brat. You have no idea what I've been going through, and frankly, I don't care. You're not my family. You're nothing to me." They just stood there, stunned into silence. I think they were actually shocked that I was standing up to them. For so long, I'd been their punching bag, their doormat, but not anymore. That moment, right there in front of my colleagues, with my family airing our dirty laundry for all to see, that was the moment everything changed. I wasn't a victim anymore, I was a survivor. I felt this strange calmness wash over me, a sense of resolve. I knew what I had to do. I had to cut them out, completely. I had to protect myself. I had to rebuild my life brick by brick without them. No more guilt, no more apologies. No more enabling their toxic behavior. It was time to be selfish. It was time to put myself first. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. All right, Reddit, after that nuclear explosion at my workplace, I knew I couldn't just sit around and wait for the fallout. I needed a plan for war. This wasn't just about getting a roof over my head, this was about taking back my life. First things first, documentation. Maria's advice was ringing in my ears. I started compiling everything. Bank statements showing my contributions to the household. Check. Copies of bills with my name on them. Check. Screenshots of Tiffany's condescending texts. Double check. I even started keeping a detailed log of every interaction I had with Carol and Tiffany, noting dates, times, and specific quotes. I felt like a crazy person, but Maria assured me it was crucial. "CYA," she said, "cover your ass." And you know what? She was right. Then I needed to secure my position. Living in my car wasn't sustainable. I contacted the lawyer Maria recommended and scheduled a consultation. He was expensive, but I knew I needed professional help. This wasn't a battle I could fight alone. He advised me to find a stable living situation ASAP, which led me to my next move, Operation Find a Roof. I started scouring Craigslist, looking for anything affordable. I knew I couldn't afford much, but I was determined to get out of my car. Finally, I found a tiny studio apartment in a not-so-great neighborhood. It wasn't much, but it was mine. And it had a shower. A shower. You have no idea how good a shower felt after a week of, well, securing that apartment was a huge victory. It felt like I was finally reclaiming a piece of my life. Next, I needed backup. I confided in a few close friends, the ones I knew I could trust. They were amazing. They offered me couches to crash on, home-cooked meals, and most importantly, emotional support. Just knowing I wasn't alone in this made a world of difference. Seriously, Reddit, find your tribe. They're lifesavers. Finally, and this was the hardest part, I had to prepare myself mentally and emotionally. I knew Carol and Tiffany wouldn't go down without a fight. I knew they would try to guilt me, manipulate me, maybe even threaten me. I had to be ready. So I started visualizing the confrontation. I practiced what I would say, how I would react. I imagined myself staying calm, staying strong, refusing to be drawn back into their toxic web. I pictured myself walking away, leaving them in the dust. This was my mental armor, and I was going to need it. I knew I was risking complete estrangement from my family, at least from Carol and Tiffany's side. But honestly, at that point, I didn't care. The thought of going back to that life, that constant cycle of abuse and manipulation, was more terrifying than the thought of being alone. I was ready to burn that bridge. I was ready to walk away from the ashes and start building something new, something better, something mine. So yeah, Reddit, that was my plan, my battle strategy, my roadmap to freedom. Was I scared? Hell yes, but I was also determined, I was angry, and I was finally ready to fight back. Wish me luck. I have a feeling I'm going to need it. Months later, my phone rang. It was Carol. I almost didn't answer, but something told me I should. Big mistake. She was hysterical, sobbing, gasping for air, barely coherent. Tiffany had run off with some guy, Brad had cleaned out Carol's bank accounts, and she was facing eviction. "Noah, please, you have to help me," she choked out between sobs. "I have nowhere to go, I'm going to be homeless." I sat there, listening to her desperate pleas, and felt nothing. No sympathy, no guilt, no urge to rescue her. Just numbness. It was like watching a bad movie, one I'd already seen 1,000 times. "Noah, please, I'll do anything, just let me stay with you just for a little while." Here it was, the inevitable plea for help. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. "Carol," I said, my voice calm and even, "I have the address of a local homeless shelter. I can text it to you." Silence. Then a sharp intake of breath. "AA shelter?" she shrieked. "Those places are for drug addicts and crazy people. I can't stay in a shelter." That's when it happened. The turning point. The moment of clarity. Her indignant reaction, her utter disgust at the thought of a homeless shelter, it was a mirror, reflecting her own hypocrisy and entitlement back at her. She had no problem with me being homeless, sleeping in my car, struggling to survive. But her, a shelter, unthinkable. "Carol," I said, my voice hardening, "you had no problem kicking me out, leaving me with nothing. You had no problem lying about me to my family, making me out to be the bad guy. You had no problem watching me suffer, so forgive me if I don't shed a tear for your current predicament. But family." She sputtered, her voice cracking. "Family?" I scoffed. "You think throwing me away like trash is what family does. You think using me, manipulating me, and then discarding me when I'm no longer useful is what family is about. You're delusional." "Noah, please, I'm your mother," she wailed, resorting to her last-ditch manipulation tactic. "You're not my mother," I said, my voice flat and cold. "My mother is gone. And you, Carol, you're nothing but a parasite, a leech, and I'm done being your host." I hung up, and you know what, Reddit? It felt good. It felt like I'd finally ripped off a bandage that had been festering for years. It felt like I could finally breathe. I was free. I blocked her number, I blocked Tiffany's number, I blocked Brad's number, I scrubbed them from my life like a virus. And then, I went and took a long, hot shower. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled. I had won. It's been a few months since I went nuclear and cut Carol and Tiffany out of my life. The fallout, as expected, was messy. Carol tried to play the victim, painting me as the ungrateful, heartless stepson to anyone who would listen. She even contacted some of my extended family, spinning her web of lies. Luckily, my uncle, who always had a good sense of BS, saw right through it. He called me, we talked, and he actually apologized for not seeing what was happening sooner. Having his support meant the world to me. Some family actually gets it. The rest, well, they mostly bought Carol's story. I lost a few family members in the process, but honestly, good riddance. I've learned that blood doesn't make you family. Loyalty, respect, and genuine care do. And those people, they weren't my real family anyway. Carol eventually moved out of state, leaving behind a mountain of debt and a trail of scorched earth. I haven't heard from her since, and I don't expect to. Goodbye and good riddance. Tiffany and Brad vanished into thin air. Last I heard, they were somewhere in Florida, living off some unsuspecting relative. Karma's a bitch, isn't it? As for me, I'm thriving. I'm in a much better place, both financially and emotionally. I'm still in that tiny studio apartment, but I'm saving up for a bigger place, maybe even a down payment on a house. My own house. This time, it'll really be mine. I'm focusing on my career, rebuilding my relationships with my real friends, and prioritizing my mental health. Therapy has been a game changer. I'm learning to set healthy boundaries, to say no without guilt, and to value myself. I'm finally putting myself first. This whole experience has been a brutal lesson in family dynamics, toxic relationships, and the importance of self-preservation. It's been painful, exhausting, and incredibly liberating. I've lost some people I thought were important, but I've gained something even more valuable, my self-respect. I'm not a victim, I'm a survivor. And I'm stronger than I ever thought possible. So Reddit, what do you think? Have you ever had to cut ties with toxic family members? How did you handle it? What advice would you give to someone going through something similar? I'd love to hear your stories and insights.